on FM?
We're definitely in a tough situation. Running backs as a whole, Saquon's a great player, and you can ask anyone around the league or even on the Giants how much he means to that team. So it's hard seeing him now get weak. But what I took from it, McCaffrey and Derrick Henry and Saquon had a lot of good points, but the biggest thing is that we're in a position that our production hurts us the most. If we go out there and run for 2,000 yards with so many carries, the next year they're going to say, you're probably worn down. That's the biggest thing that I took from it. It's just, it's tough. It hurts us just to go out there and do good. It hurts us at the end of the day.
That is Cleveland Browns running back Nick Chubb following the big Zoom meeting that lots of the running backs had. And that brings us then to our guest as we continue to broadcast live from the CAZ Sportsbook and Sports Bar. It is Rudy Carpenter, former QB, and you can always follow Rudy on Twitter at RudyCarp12. That's RudyCarp12. Rudy, Jimmy B, and Manooch, how are you today, pal?
I'm doing great. Still living the dream.
Attaboy. I'm just real curious to pick your brain about all of a sudden how running backs, at least in their minds, have become devalued. And where are you on the running back situation as far as getting paid is concerned?
Well, I think for me, the easiest way to describe my feeling on it is that I'm a free market capitalist. And unfortunately, the way that the NFL has structured the NFL, the way that the NFL has created the rules of the NFL, the way that the NFL wants the game to be played, is not conducive to running backs. What the NFL wants is high flying offenses that are throwing the ball in the air with explosive plays and receivers going up and making, crazy catches and quarterbacks running around and making plays. And that's just how the game is designed. It's how it's played. It's how it's played in college as well. And it makes it very difficult for running backs. But I also think that what NFL teams have figured out and have found is that, unfortunately, there's probably not a massive difference between a running back that you could pick, let's say late in the first round or early in the fourth round. There's just not a massive difference. You might see a massive difference with a guy like Derrick Henry because he has such incredible size. You might see a massive difference with Christian McCaffrey because he has incredible skills to be a third down back. He can be a receiver, a slot receiver, a running back, things like that. And those guys get rewarded for their abilities. But at the end of the day, right now, the NFL is not structured in a way that's going to highlight running backs. And because of that, if you're an NFL coach, what would you rather do? Would you rather pay a running back a bunch of money, or would you rather spread the money out and have a much better special teams unit, for instance?
Rudy, I'm right on par with you. I think the other thing that kind of comes in this, and I think you alluded to it, is, running back by committee any more than the National Football League. Who's the better receiver, blocker, runner, et cetera, et cetera. But I also think, don't you feel that the owners feel they might have been burned by giving some of these big contracts to guys years past, and then they might last a year or another year or fall off the map completely? And I think of Sean Alexander many years ago. I think of Ezekiel Elliott the last couple of years. On and on. You think that they might be a little spooked with that as well, too?
Maybe, but here's why I don't believe that. Look, I think it's a good argument. I get it. They get beat up. But here's why it's not a good argument, in my view. The game has changed. We're handing the ball off to wide receivers all the time. We're handing the ball off in fly sweeps and zone reads. We're motioning Tyreek Hill. We're motioning Isaiah Pacheco. We're motioning these little slot receivers back in the backfield, and we're running zone reads. We're running fly sweeps. We're running reverses. We're throwing them. How many times did we watch the Arizona Cardinals call wide receiver middle screen? Like 25 times a game. When you're running wide receiver middle screens, when you're running bubble screens, when you're running these types of plays, these are run plays. These are run plays, and you're trying to get your wide receivers, your playmakers in space. And my viewpoint on this is that what happens is now you're creating different matchups. All of a sudden, you have what the defense thinks is 5 wide receivers in the game, but then you motion Tyreek Hill to the backfield. What is he? Is he a running back? Is he a wide receiver? Do you play dime personnel? Do you play nickel personnel? What are you playing on defense, right? And I think that's what's really happened is you have a bunch of coaches around the league who say, look, it's very, very difficult to score points. And what we need to do is we need to get our best athletes the ball and get the ball in space to these guys and create matchups. Do you want a running back on a linebacker? Yeah, sometimes. But now these linebackers have gotten so good. Or do you want Tyreek Hill on a linebacker? And that's really what it's come down to. And now all of a sudden it's very, very difficult to defend. Who's the starting running back right now for the Kansas City Chiefs? I mean, it's the most explosive offense in the NFL. And I think overall the NFL is a copycat league, and they look at it and they say, for as much as these guys, these slot wide receivers have been getting handoffs since high school and then all through college and now in the NFL, let's just utilize them the way that they have always been utilized. So what you're going to have to see is you're going to have to see more running backs become like Christian McCaffrey. They're going to have to become nightmare matchups. If you want to play in the league for a long time and you want to get paid and you want to make a lot of money, you have to have more of a skill set. It's not, teams don't need Derrick Henry as much anymore. Although I will say when you get deep into the playoffs and it gets really, really cold, all of a sudden Derrick Henry becomes a very scary part of your offense. But if you're a running back, it's no, the Emmitt Smith is no more. The Sean Alexander's is no more. You have to be able to go in the backfield, run in between the tackles, and go for 90. You have to be able to motion into the slot and beat a linebacker in space on a slant route or an option route or whatever it may be, or a corner route. You have to be able to go in motion, widen all the way out, and still beat a corner. And if you can do those things, then you'll play in the NFL for a long time. You get paid. If you're just going to run in between the tackles, inside zone, outside zone, single back power, that type of stuff, and be an average pass protector, you're just not going to be able to play for a long time.
And the other thing on top of that, Rudy, I was thinking about this last night as I'm watching this and reading this, is that the National Football League quarterback has become a hybrid, quarterback slash, running back slash better athlete who takes some of those carries, or the offense has evolved more around that quarterback, which that affects the running back and some of those carries as well too. So adding that on top of what you said, when owners look at it, we're going to pay that QB $40 million a year, pay you less, Mr. Running Back, because he's doing much more than we did maybe 10, 15 years ago at the quarterback position.
Well, let me just ask you guys the question. You guys watch football every single week. Who impacts the game more, a running back or a kicker?
Oh, well, you know what? Nowadays, I would say the kicker. Getting him in
of
position.
Course.
Getting in position.
So do you want to pay your running back $15 million a year, $12 million a year, and pay a kicker what they used to the league minimum? Or are you going to start paying your running backs $2.5 million, $3 million a year, and pay your kickers $5 million a year? That's what these guys are getting, and that's what they're worth, because that's how valuable these kickers have become. I mean, it used to be insane to watch a kicker kick a 50-yard kick. Today, that's a chip shot. Mm-hmm. That's a chip shot for these dudes. So if you just look how the game is being impacted, I mean, it's just a much different game than it used to be.
Rudy Carpenter is our guest. Rockin' Minuch with Jimmy B, Fox Sports, 910, 99.9 FM HD2, and also on the iHeartRadio app. All right, so the Arizona Cardinals will begin their training camp this week, and they have already come out and stated, Johnathan Gannon, that they want to run the football more than they have in the past. So, Rudy, with what you just stated about the running back, how does that then sit with you as far as the Cardinals' offense is concerned?
That's lip service. That's lip service. That's Johnathan Gannon trying to be the polar opposite of Cliff Kingsbury. You know what he's going to say next week? No more camp cupcake. No more days off. No more no hitting. We're going to be physical. All he's wanting to do with Bonnie Ossencourt is be the total opposite of Steve Kine, the total opposite of Bruce Arians, the total opposite of Cliff Kingsbury. That's all he's trying to do. When he says he wants to run the football, that's because he's trying to protect Kyler Murray and his knee injury, et cetera, et cetera. The Cardinals are going to be horrible this year, which means they're going to be down in a bunch of games and losing. And unfortunately, when you're down and losing, you're throwing the football. So to me, it's all just lip service. That's Johnathan Gannon again. Like I said, they're just trying, in my view, to set the stage and set the tone of we want physicality in our practices. We want to be physical every single come in and say we're going to run the football. Today's a 9-on-7 days. What they were really saying was we want today to be physical, and there's probably going to be fights in training camp because that's how it goes. We need to be physical. That's just, to me, that's just training camp talk.
Boy, it's always great, pal, when we catch up with you. As always, we always appreciate you being on the show. Thank you, Rudy, and stay cool, pal.
Okay.
You got it. Okay, there you go. Rudy Carpenter. And Rudy is driven by All City Towing, and they are right now looking for you. Rock joins the show. Rock, you interested in All City Towing?
Absolutely. They're hiring.
They're hiring. You can get away from Minuch and myself.
Absolutely. I got away for a week.